Kalshi has decided that they are going to be in the NFL single game market, sides, totals, and prop betting. How is this not sports gambling? Steve Ruddock joining us here on the Bostonian versus the book. Steve, good to see you. How are you?
Good, Matt. How you doing?
Doing great. Thank you for coming on. I'm at a loss again. I just understand for the layman. How is this possible that Kalshi is now able to offer these offerings for the upcoming NFL season?
Yeah, so it's all a matter of these court cases that are still unfolding. So you have Kalshi claiming only the CFTC can say what they offer, and if they've gone too far, the CFTC is basically like a one-woman show at the moment, and eventually be a one-man show. If Quinten's is ever confirmed, who knows what's going on there.
Is that 3 times, by the way? Has it been 3 separate times they've pushed that vote back?
We're on our third. So
we're on our third.
Okay. Canceled it twice. And this is only the committee stage. We haven't even gotten to the full Senate yet. So who knows what's going on there. But until the CFTC says, hey, stop doing that, Kalshi's going to keep doing it. And until the courts say, hey, you can't do that, Kalshi's going to keep doing it. So we're in this situation right now. I guess if you were a sports book, a traditional sports book, you could look at it one of 2 ways. Either this is your next door neighbor building a stone wall in the middle of the night on your property line and then being like, well, take it up with the town. Right. Or it's even worse than that. It's basically squatters have moved into your house while you're on vacation, and now you have to go through a legal process to get them out. So we're somewhere in between those 2 really bad analogies of where this is right now.
I like the analogy a lot. It's actually really good. The semantics that this company has is incredible to me. So Sarah Slane, who I read an article today that asked, I wonder what 2017 Sarah Slane thinks of 2025 Sarah Slane, which I think is a great question, given how much she advocated against any type of illegal activity or non-traditional sports gaming in America, but that's beside the point. She is quoted to Front Office Sports as saying, this is a natural progression in our offerings, and clearly there's huge consumer demand. My question is this, Steve. There's huge consumer demand for sports gambling. Is there huge consumer demand for prediction markets?
Yeah, as long as it fills in for sports betting where sports betting's not been legalized yet. I mean, There's a huge consumer demand for any type of product that even vaguely resembles sports betting in markets where there isn't legal sports betting. The big question is, how far can they go with this? Can they start doing single game parlays? Do they have there are kind of rules under the CFTC where you kind of have to have money on hand for things. So it's a big question right now of how far they can go with it and what does the product look like. So when legal sports betting does drop in California in 2063 or whenever it happens, is Kalshi so far ahead of the game that nobody cares about the DraftKings or FanDuels anymore? Or is it a situation where, hey, this is just a placeholder, and once we get the real thing that has everything we want, then we're just going to switch over to that?
So on your newsletter, Straight to the Point today, you linked to this article being written by one of our good friends in the industry. But this is the contracts that are currently being traded on Kalshi, and that sports markets are accounting for more than 2/3 of the volume. And the top 20 markets represented 85% of all the trading on Kalshi. And at the NFL, even in the preseason, the NFL is a top 10 sports or market for Kalshi. What is this graph going to look like? Because the big bar is the PGA right now. That's the leader. But what's that going to look like if they're allowed to operate during the NFL season? It's going to be all NFL money, is it not?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if 90% plus of their trading volume is sports related at that point, which I hate this term, but it begs the question, like, are you a prediction market offering sports markets, or are you a sports betting company offering prediction market products as well? Because if you can call your donut shop a donut shop, but if 90% of your volume is in coffee, you're a coffee shop that sells donuts. Like we kind of have to separate what you are with what you're saying you are at some point. And right now, all on Twitter today, I think everybody's kind of summing it up properly, which is, can we just call this what it is and, move on from there? Let's make the distinction after the fact, as opposed to let's say this is some random thing that everyone knows it is not. You could make that case with their previous products where they were just offering yes or no products. So these were typical, commodity type products. They're just happening around sports betting.
Right.
But what's the financial significance of offering that? Yes or no, will the Milwaukee Brewers win the game? Versus yes or no, will the Milwaukee Brewers score 4.5 runs?
Right.
Like, this is where we start getting into you're starting to call it something that it's not anymore.
Well, I mean, the other quote here in a statement that was quoted by Front Office Sports, Tariq Mansour says, bringing these markets under CFTC oversight will help protect consumers. Well, my question is, obviously he wants everything under the CFTC, because if it's not, he's then operating illegally and he'll be shut down by every state he's currently operating in. So the only reason why Kalshi is allowed to do what they're doing is because they're operating underneath the CFTC's guidelines in their mind as terms of who they're answering to. But who is watching these markets? Is the CFTC monitoring tiny micro markets or, prop betting markets for any impropriety? Who is the watchdog for any issues going on, if there is one, when it comes to a prediction market?
I wrote about this a bit ago, so I'm probably going to just totally fumble the numbers here, but I believe the CFTC oversees like 2 trillion or 3 trillion in trades, and the sports betting thing is maybe 200 billion. This is a staff of 600 and something people. The few dozen were just let go in the cuts that have been going on. When I asked AI, how many people would it take to oversee sports betting nationally, it spit out a number that was, I believe, about 1,500 based on current regulatory head counts, right? And we know a lot of these regulatory bodies have like 3 people, right? These aren't like massive organizations either. So we're looking at something where I've said in the past, it's not a matter of should they be in charge of it? It's can they be in charge of it?
Okay.
Do they actually have the oversight capability for this? And maybe that's why they're just saying nothing about it and letting it play out in courts. Because if they came out and said, yeah, we're okay with these, not as opposed to what they're doing now, which is we're just not going to say we're not okay. So is that why they're quiet over there? Is that because, hey, we don't want to be the ones that are saying we can do this and then everything goes to hell when something blows up? I mean,
Okay.
We have the Kalshi lawyer at Nickel G said something about these are grown adults. If they want to lose their shirt, they can.
Oh my!
Or yesterday, Tarek saying, hey, it's good to be under CFTC regulation. It's like, well, if the CFTC regulation allows anybody to bet whatever they want and lose their shirt, as whoever was representing you at Nickel G said, I think we have kind of a mistaken we have a mistake in how we're approaching this from the responsible gaming standpoint.
Right. All that money that's been poured into responsible gaming, all that KYC situations, all of those, all the money is being poured into both federally and statewide when it comes to problem gaming. We're just going to forget all that. Like, it doesn't apply to prediction markets. Like, it's all out the window.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Like, if CFTC is in charge of this, I hope that it gets regulated properly. That's my big thing with whatever it is. I would like whatever is being on offer to be properly regulated and have some safeguards in place that don't make me like cringe when I have to, write about it in the industry. So I think that where we're headed right now, it's, I would say that if you think right now that if the CFTC signed off on something, just absolutely, that they wouldn't offer anything and everything you can think of, probably right up to Little League World Series. I don't know if you've been paying attention, because they have not shown any signs of slowing down. They've thrown up a Luigi Mangione contract at one point.
Yep.
Will Shohei Ohtani be arrested? I don't know where the guardrails are right now for this.
Oh, there are no guardrails at the moment. I mean, it's the only thing they can't do is predict war. That's basically the only thing that they've been shot down with, literally, when it comes to putting up any type of market like that. They cannot do that, or anything that has to do with, like, the Luigi thing is bordering on that. Like, that you can't go and have it be where someone gets hurt, commits a crime, war, those types of things are the only thing right now that the Kalshi won't put up. They'll put up everything else. And there's two more wrinkles here. The first being Robinhood is now going to launch pro football and college football prediction markets within the Robinhood app. This is going to include all NFL, NCAA Power 4 Conference regular season games, and the launch comes days after Kalshi announces its own expanded football for prediction markets. So what is the connection between Robinhood and Kalshi? Everyone's trying to figure this out. Are they in bed together? Are they linked, or are they separate?
Yeah, so they have some type of agreement where Kalshi's contracts can go into the Robinhood app. So basically what you're doing is if you're placing transactions, what are we calling these? I don't know. Transactions on Robinhood, you're really placing them through Kalshi.
It's a bet. Let's call it a bet.
Those are going through Kalshi. I mean, somebody put it pretty bluntly on X today, which he writes a very good Substack prediction newsletter. Dustin has a great one, Dustin Goker. Yep. It's called 50 Cent Dollar. 50 Cent Dollars. I might be mistaking those. Okay. But he said, he's like, they're not going to say the quiet part out loud, which is this is through Kalshi, because Robinhood is also taking a fee on it. They're taking a fee on the Kalshi one. So and at the end of the day, I think this is where a lot of people that are like, oh, well, this is good because we won't have to deal with that sports betting tax loss. We won't have to deal with all these crazy regulations in states. Yeah, but when there's money there, there's always somebody taking pieces of that money. And eventually you're not going to get any better of a price than you would at a traditional sports book, because somebody's going to be sitting there trying to take their cut. And then the next person comes along and takes a cut of that. And next thing you know, you're paying 25 cents extra on every bet the same way.
And then the last question I got for you, and this is, I know you're not a lawyer, but Nevada has asked Kalshi to release communications for discovery, saying that they're arguing that they need discovery to determine if Kalshi's sports event contracts are legal. They want the emails, they want the transactions going back and forth between Kalshi executives and everyone involved in this, so they can then track it. Does that have legs? Could that happen?
It could. So this is pretty much how every time you see a massive settlement from a company, it's usually because they don't want to go through discovery, which is, it's one of those things where, like, I do not want to show you all of my internal communications on this topic. So it gets a little tricky. I said this months ago when Andrew Kim was on my podcast. I was like, discovery would be the craziest thing we've seen so far. Because, I mean, let's be serious here. Where this company is very much a let's move really fast and break lots of things along the way,
right?
Type of company. So yeah, if that happens, so they've come back and said that it's unnecessary, completely unnecessary. It doesn't really get to the crux of the case. We'll see what the Nevada judge thinks. Sorry. But yeah, it's one of those things where if it does happen, I'll be very interested. I don't like to read a lot of court cases and legal documents. I let some of the others do that unless I absolutely have to.
Right.
But that one I would read straight through.
Well, I mean, Nevada writes, Kalshi asserts that no discovery is necessary to resolve this case because the principal issue is one of preemption. But to decide whether Nevada's gaming laws are preempted, the court will need to know key facts about Kalshi's products, and none of those facts have been developed. Although preemption questions sometimes are resolved on stipulated facts, the parties here have not agreed to the necessary facts, meaning we don't know what you're doing, because it's all in this like gobbledygook idea of Well, it's a prediction market, but what separates a prediction market from a sports bet? I ask everyone this question, Steve. Yeah. No one has a real answer to determine the differentiating other than some type of like mathematical equation about predictability and some level of investment as to what you do with the prediction market versus what you do with a sports gamble.
Most people would tell you that it has to do with the peer-to-peer nature. Is kind of what Kalshi's main argument is that we do this peer-to-peer, but not everybody is taking every side of the bets, so they have market makers, and that's one of the things that would come out in discovery, right? What's your deal with your market makers? What are they getting out of this? What have they said they will do? Right? There's all of these things that we don't know, and basically nobody wants us to know. I mean, it would be like asking sportsbooks, hey, what's your market access revenue sharing arrangement with this casino? They won't tell you. I mean, they're not going to tell you, hey, by the way, that how we say that the casino makes out, they're only getting 4% of the revenue share, right? They're not going to tell you those types of things. So that's one of the things that I would say that Discovery would shine a big light on.
Steve, thank you for the time. This story, I know it's inside school and I know it's not appealing to everyone, but I'm 48. I've been doing sports gambling content full time for nearly a decade now. And I've been doing media for over 20 years. This is one of the craziest stories I have ever covered because of the level of just blatant, I can't call it corruption because it's not, but it's just one of those weird things of like, I said it yesterday, like it's peeing on us with like a fire hose and saying it's raining with what they're doing because there's nobody watching. The president's son is on the board. Brian Quintez is the former head of Kalshi. He's about to become the head of the CFTC, the same CFTC that Kalshi claims is the only people that actually can regulate them. We'll end it with this. Where are you on this story? Like, is this mind blowing to you, or is this sort of just another gaming story where it's crazy?
It's right up there. It's right up there with Black Friday and online poker. It's right up there with the overturn of PASPA. This is one of those watershed moments, and we really don't know which way it's going to be, because in 5 years, this might be the biggest thing that ever happened, or it might be something that we're like, hey, remember that crazy 6 months back in 2025?
I hope you're right. I hope it's B. If folks want to get your newsletter, Steve, how can they do so?
Straight to the point.substack.com. You can always follow me on X. I don't post too often, but every now and then at Steve Ruddock. And hey, my best to Dave. If you see him, tell him thinking about him.
I saw him yesterday. Yeah, we'll do so. Steve, thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon. This story's not over. Well, I'm sure there's more wrinkles coming down the pike. Thanks for the time today.
Anytime, Matt.